Yeah, if they're telling you that there's no clones, the guy telling you is probably a fucking clone. At this point, I have no doubt that they've made human clones. They made dog clones. You can get your dog cloned. If your dog's gonna die, you can get the DNA from your dog, get a fucking puppy, and it'll be eerily similar to your dog. They think including some personality traits, which is just very bizarre, very Pet Cemetery. Right. But if they can do that.
What if I told you some of the biggest celebrities you've watched for years might not actually be the same people anymore? What if the version you see today isn't the original, but a replacement? Sounds insane, right? But once you see the patterns, you might never look at Hollywood the same way again. Welcome back. Today, we're diving into one of the most controversial and unsettling theories on the internet right now, celebrity cloning. From sudden personality changes to shocking physical transformations, fans believe something deeper is happening behind the scenes. And whether you believe it or not, the evidence people are pointing to is hard to ignore. Over the past few years, something strange has been happening in Hollywood. It starts the same way almost every time. A celebrity, usually someone powerful, outspoken, or unpredictable, begins speaking out against the industry. They question authority. They challenge the system. They say things most people are too afraid to say. And then they disappear. For weeks, sometimes months. No interviews. No public appearances. Silence. But when they return, something feels off. Not just different, but completely changed. Their voice sounds different. Their behavior shifts. Their beliefs suddenly flip. And in some cases, even their appearance seems altered in ways that don't quite make sense. Fans notice it immediately. And that's where the theory begins. One of the most talked about examples involves a legendary actor who recently made a public appearance after being out of the spotlight for a long time. At first, people were excited, but that excitement quickly turned into confusion because the person they saw didn't feel like the same individual.
Oh, it's a wonderful feeling. I really took on a pretty big challenge trying to do my speech in French. So, I wrote it and I researched it and I practiced it like crazy. But, it's, then I watched everybody like talking 1,000 miles an hour up there, receiving their awards. And I was like, I'm dead.
They had known for decades. The facial structure looked slightly different. The energy was different. Even the way he spoke didn't match the personality fans were familiar with. Some people tried to explain it logically, aging, stress, maybe cosmetic procedures. But others weren't convinced. Because it wasn't just one thing. It was everything. And that's when people started asking a much darker question. What if this isn't him? Now, before jumping to conclusions, it's important to understand why theories like this gain so much traction. Hollywood has always been surrounded by mystery. Powerful figures, hidden deals, secretive organizations. These ideas aren't new. But what makes this theory different is the pattern. It's not just one celebrity. It's multiple. Time and time again, the same sequence seems to play out. A public figure rises, gains influence, and then begins to challenge the system. They speak about control, manipulation, or hidden agendas. Then they vanish. And when they come back, they're no longer the same person. Some fans believe this isn't a coincidence. They believe it's control. According to this theory, when certain individuals become too influential or too unpredictable, they are either silenced or replaced. And that replacement? That's where the idea of cloning comes in. Now, cloning itself isn't science fiction anymore. We already know that animals have been cloned successfully. Scientists have replicated living organisms using DNA, producing near-identical copies. So, naturally, some people ask the next question. If it's possible with animals, why not humans? Of course, there's no public evidence that human cloning exists at that level. But conspiracy theorists argue that just because something isn't public doesn't mean it doesn't exist. They believe advanced technologies are kept hidden, especially when they could shift power or control. And in this theory, cloning isn't just about creating a physical copy. It's about replacing identity. Imagine this, a celebrity who has millions of followers, global influence, and a powerful voice suddenly starts speaking out against the system. Instead of letting that voice grow louder, what if it was easier to replace it? Replace the person, replace the message, replace the influence. That's what believers in this theory think is happening. They point to sudden personality changes as one of the biggest signs. A celebrity who once criticized the industry suddenly starts praising it. Someone who once stood against certain ideas now fully supports them. It's like watching a completely different person in the same body. And for many fans, that's exactly what it feels like. But it doesn't stop there. Some claim physical changes go beyond what's possible with normal aging or surgery. Eye color differences, changes in facial symmetry, even subtle shifts in height or posture. Individually, these things might not mean much, but together, they start to raise questions. Another major factor that fuels this theory is the idea of behavioral resets. When certain celebrities return, they often act calmer, quieter, or more controlled than before. Almost like they've been reset. Their previous energy, gone. Their rebellious nature, gone. Their unpredictability, gone. Replaced with something more manageable, more controlled, more compliant. Critics of the theory argue that there are simpler explanations. Mental health struggles.
Anything I say tonight is allegedly, bitch. I don't know shit. I just live here talking. I love Jamie Foxx. Let me say that. I love Jamie Foxx. But his clone. His clone ain't shit. His clone kept on messing up.
Personal growth, industry pressure, media manipulation. And to be fair, those explanations make sense. But for those who believe in the cloning theory, the consistency of these changes is what keeps the idea alive. It's not just one person, it's a pattern. And patterns are hard to ignore. There are also claims about body doubles, something that is actually real in the entertainment industry. Celebrities have used doubles for years to avoid paparazzi, perform dangerous scenes, or maintain privacy. But some people believe this concept goes much deeper. They think body doubles are just the surface-level explanation, a way to normalize the idea of replacement. Because if the public is already used to seeing lookalikes, it becomes easier to accept changes without questioning them too much. And that's where things start to get even more unsettling. Because if a replacement were perfect enough, would anyone even notice? Or would we just accept it? Another part of this theory involves timing. Many of these supposed changes happen after major events, controversies, public breakdowns, legal issues, or sudden disappearances. Almost like something happens behind the scenes, and what comes back is different. This leads to one of the most chilling ideas connected to the theory, that some celebrities don't come back at all. That what we see is just a version. Now again, there's no verified proof of this. But the internet thrives on speculation. And when enough people notice the same thing, the conversation grows. Social media has played a huge role in spreading these theories. Side-by-side comparisons, old interviews versus new ones, voice analysis, behavior breakdowns. Fans are analyzing everything. And the more they look, the more questions they find. But here's the real question. Why would something like this even happen? If we step back and think about it logically, the theory suggests one main reason: control. Celebrities aren't just entertainers anymore. They're influencers, trendsetters, and powerful voices that can shape public opinion on a massive scale. If someone like that goes against the system, it could have real consequences. So according to believers, replacing that voice would be the ultimate way to maintain control. Or do you believe there's something deeper happening behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next story might be even more unbelievable.